We're live?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry we're late. I'm with Kieran Rose. I don't know what side he's on, but he's from the Autistic Advocate. And
this side of the screen.
Yes. Oh, there we go.
No, the other way.
That's it. No, I got it right now. And I'm just so thankful you've been so patient with me. Not only today, Kieran, you've been patient with me for the last 18 months in terms of, collaborating. So thank you. We're finally making it happen. No? Why not? What?
It's the same person. Cool. Brilliant.
Oh, he's gone.
No.
There he is. Oh,
What happened there?
I can't deal with it.
I said nothing. It wasn't me. It's Liam.
Liam's nearly having a nervous breakdown because, we've literally just all been stressing. This is why I usually just live stream on my phone. This is why it's taken me forever to get this collaboration happening. Yay! I can see comments as well.
It's all part of that same post that you shared.
Yeah.
All that link.
Fantastic.
So I'll have to share it.
Can I just turn up Kieran a little bit though, because I can't really hear him.
Yeah.
Right. So what we're going to be talking about? Just to explain them, dead quick. I'm Sarah Harvey, Agony Autie. I'm autistic. I was diagnosed autistic 5 years ago now. Kieran, my love.
Yes, I'm Kieran Rose. I'm the Autistic Advocate, and I was diagnosed 17 years ago. Ouch, that's a long time.
17.
17, yes.
You've had much longer then to digest your autisticness to yourself. I've only had 4 years to apply it. How do you think I've been doing?
I think you're doing brilliantly. You're doing better than I did. Mine was parked on a shelf for about 12 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That must have been hard.
It wasn't really, because I just carried on doing the same things as I was doing before, like breaking myself over and over and over. So even after
did you carry on masking? Did you?
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. I didn't know what it meant. Didn't have a clue. It was 2002, 2003. So. It was all kids. That was all they were. You didn't get autistic adults back then.
Yeah. So you've been through, how old are you again, my love? Do you mind me asking that?
I'm a very, very, very young 39, nearly 40.
Perfect.
20.
Cool. So I'm 32. So we're not that different in terms of the age range, and
it's only 8 years.
Yeah, I always get excited when I meet autistic people who've been diagnosed when they're younger. Oh, Liam wanted this out because look at look at that. But yeah, no, I've been really looking forward to today. I've invited Kieran on because I've been really struggling with my live chats. I've been getting really nervous coming online, and Kieran does loads of advocacy work, and he's really. You're more connected to the community than me because you've established the Autistic Cooperative, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's that?
Absolutely. That is about 2 years ago. I was looking around and I was trying to figure out why there were just loads of advocates floating around doing their own thing and not really connecting with each other. So basically, it's a networking group. But it's now got it's over 100 advocacy organizations from all over the world. It's got 700 professional proper's not the right word, but people who do advocate for a living kind of thing, and people who seriously advocate online, and just loads of great people in it. Probably lots of names that people watching will know. But yeah, and it's 2 years in and it's done amazingly, and so many great campaigns have come out of it, and it's just amazing to see so many advocates from different countries, South America, North America, Africa, Asia, Europe, all working together and kind of platforming each other, and it's just great. It just works really well.
Go check out the Autistic Cooperative. If you're a blogger, an advocate, an emerging autistic artist, it's basically for anyone who's being visibly autistic, and that's why I love it.
Basically.
It's an opportunity for us to network and to find each other, because blogging and advocating is very lonely. Mm-hmm. It can be very isolating, and we wanted to talk about Autism Awareness Month, didn't we? Yes. We wanted to talk about some of the reasons why autistic adults in particular find this month, not all of us, some of us think this month is great, But there are a number of the actually autistic community who find this whole month very triggering, very upsetting. When they come online to see information about our autistic neurology and our autistic personhood and our behavior, quite frankly, our distress and trauma, being completely misunderstood. And it's the same old misinformation. So we wanted to kind of talk about what are some of the main issues surrounding Autism Awareness Month in terms of what is some of the rhetoric coming from organizations and charities that should know better. We're in 2019. They should know better.
There's no excuse anymore. There is no excuse.
No.
There is enough information out there in the real world and on the internet by actually autistic people now that there's no excuse for any of these charities to be running the way that they are running and promoting the myths and the just rubbish that they promote. But most of it's all about feeding money back into their own pocket. And I was talking to somebody earlier about this, and I said, at the end of the day, misery sells. If you want to make things negative and you want to make things pathological, then it's going to make you money. That's why that's the charity system.
Someone just a shout out here from Frank George. British Women with Asperger's UK Connect group is a good group for support regardless of diagnosis. You are valid either way in the community. Fantastic. Because I think one of the things that concerns me and concerns quite a lot of people in the autistic community is the fact that charities such as, let's talk about Autism Speaks and the National Autistic Society, because they're the main big two. But Autism Speaks is the main go-to in America, and then you have the National Autistic Society, which is the main go-to in the UK, and they're both very independent from each other, but there are some emerging similarities. But they both primarily founded, is it about 40, 30 years ago, to cure autism. Both of the charities' main rhetoric was... NAS was formed in the 1960s, so a very long time ago. And you can understand back then the amount of misinformation that was around then. And it was a group of parents that had children with, or young or older children with high supports needs. So that's where they projected from. And then Autism Speaks was in the late 90s, early 2000s. So they haven't actually been around for that long. Right, that's worrying.
Bob Wright, who founded Autism Speaks, who was a big media mogul, like multi-billionaire media mogul in the United States, his grandson was diagnosed autistic, and it was around the time of MMR and Wakefield. So Autism Speaks was formed to prove that vaccines caused autism. That was their sole purpose. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people, they're not aware of this. The Light It Up Blue campaign, Light Up Blue for Autism, and all the jigsaw pieces and things like that. The reason autistic people, the actual autistic community, can be sometimes vehemently against it is because they're triggered by these symbols. These symbols represent something that we interpret as harmful. So why do we think that Autism Speaks is harmful? From my perspective, I've seen a charity raise millions in our name, in the name of autism, looking for a cure, to cure autism. It's a very generalized concept, by the way. And what is it that they want to cure? What part of the autism? Because I've been breaking autism down for 2 years. I break it down, so I can't help it. Break it down. But any excuse for a stim, Kieran. Any excuse for a stim break. But for me, this community, more than anything, has needed research into our health conditions, research into the sensory overload. We need facilities and support into that. We do need extensive care. So where is it? Why isn't money pumped into setting up these kind of infrastructures, which we have sorely needed? Instead, they go looking for this cure. And my argument is that that money could be put into so much more good. And that is actually supporting us and alleviating our distress, because I want a cure of ignorance. I want a cure of chronic pain and anxiety. But hey, the world doesn't work like that. There is no quick fix. And what we have to realize is that autistic people, we are in such a dire state of needs and a dire state of affairs. And a lot of us are at absolute breaking point because we've never had that holistic guidance. It's always only ever been, we need to correct this behavior that stems from the autism.
Absolutely. And that's what I call the negative narrative. And that's a narrative that's been driven since the 1960s, since the National Autistic Society was formed. I mean, their first logo was a jigsaw piece with a crying child rubbing his eyes. You know, so that's where that whole thing has come from. And that actually was only the early 2000s that they changed that. So, you know, so everything has kind of stemmed from there. And this whole fixation on fixing us, it's the whole societal cultural thing that this is the way that people are, and if you don't fit that bracket, then there's something wrong. And it comes from the medicalization as well, because medical terms, the way that doctors look at things, and historically, is that if they did not know how a part of the body worked, they waited for something to go wrong, and then they could track it back to what was causing that. So that's how they look at autism. Something's going wrong because we don't communicate in the right way. We don't act in the right way. So something's broken somewhere from their point of view. So they're just constantly looking for the source of that break.
Yeah. What disgusts me, really disgusts me, is that with autism, there really is no concrete, hard facts or evidence. And yet everyone is having this battlefield over us, and it is because they notice our difference first. They're not going to notice the unique things that they love about us first. They're going to notice the things that are disruptive. They're going to notice the people who are slower at tying their shoes, slower at learning toileting, not wanting to get dressed into these horrible polyester suits. They're going to notice the non-compliance, the people who aren't adhering to the societal structures and norms. And my argument is this, is that autistic people are absolutely everywhere, all across the globe. We are, but we are noticed and picked apart and diagnosed and pathologized in the Western areas, because it's the Western areas in particular that have modern sciences and psychology and pathology. So if you go to, I've watched on TV indigenous tribes and other cultures and places where they really are they've not been touched by the outside modern world. It's quite nice. You can study humanity, how it could be, and I can see autistic behavior absolutely everywhere. But they survive. It's like neurodiversity in other areas of the world can survive, and I'm not saying it's easy.
No.
There's people who, if you were left-handed 100 years ago in the UK, you're considered sinister, right? So there are other countries today where autistic people, if they tick, if they stim, oh, God forbid, if they have epilepsy, they would be considered that they are a witch or that they are possessed. It's a serious conversation. The politics of body movement has what has led into what is going on. Let's find out. Let's pathologize. But you know what? You got no hard facts. And I want neuroscience. To be our friend, not our foe. Because neuroscience will be able to see what we are saying, which is we are sensory overloaded, we are emotionally overwhelmed, our cognitive or executive functionings, but we need time and space. But where is that? In the classroom, in the workspace, outside in the shopping.
It's not anywhere.
Where is that? No.
No, there's no break there at all, is it? And this is why we always talk about that we live in a society that wasn't built for us and isn't willing to bend enough to help us fit in the way that we need to fit in. It's kind of, if you look at society as a wheel, we're like the little stones that get in the spokes and cause the wheel to go jarring off in the wrong direction. And it's because I don't know. It's like, I don't know how much of it goes back to Victorian culture. We still have so much of our culture is still Victorian.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of, don't show your leg there, Sarah, because you'll send the men a fluster. But it is like that. We live in a society like that, and it's really weird though, because in a lot of ways we've become so much more permissive, but that's been driven by capitalism because sex sells. You know, so we've gone down this whole route where
literally just pointed out capitalism in the comments.
But it's like we have, in a way, we've become so much less prude, but so much more prude in every other way. It's just the way that we are, and a lot of it's built around fear, and a lot of it's built around uniformity, and a lot of it's built around control. And the article that I did about identity was very much about that, about why we can't be who we are because other people, we invoke fear in other people, that fear of difference, and it's and then
so that's something really
that's a whole other conversation though, isn't it?
No, but what you stay on that with identity, what Autism Awareness Month, autism, when people say identity, they're like, what? Because autism is about awareness and cure, and we've got to do this for the autism. And there's people literally going on marathons. Running I don't know what it is. And I am so blessed that they are doing this. It's not me mocking that.
No.
But people still fundamentally today are chatting about autism and advocating for autism, and they don't know what it is.
No, you're right. You are 100% right. And you see this reinforced in, and disclaimer here, I am not picking on parents in any way, shape or form when I say this, but you see this in parent groups where they are negatively reinforcing myths and misunderstanding and a lack of awareness outside of how their child presents.
And it's because they've not been taught.
No, and they haven't been given the proper education. They haven't been given the inside version of what autism is. All they see is behavior. That's if you are not autistic, the only way you can see autism is if you look at an autistic person and see how they are behaving, whether that's physically or whether what they're doing or how they're speaking, or it all comes back to that. And that's why behavior is at the root of all of our problems. Absolutely. How behavior is viewed.
And mostly the reason we have trouble with the National Autistic Society, and this is why they have parallels to Autism Speak sometimes, is that we have issues with charities that are fundamentally seeing success as a reduction in autism, as a reduction in autistic traits, as a reduction in autistic behavior, as in a reduction in all of it. We see it as a problem, and we're also seeing this weird emergence of like, they are people, we know they're people, but they still need to be cured, and we still need to speak on their behalf. It's like, and another reason the National Autistic Society really upset me, like I think they just think I'm just angry at them. I'm not angry at them. I am devastated. I am mortified. I am livid. I look at what they're doing. They've got thousands of staff on their payroll. They've got the resources. They've got the infrastructure. And I don't understand why, in all this time, the thing that they know, because they've been talking about it, that harms us is isolation, feeling lonely from each other. They've done very little to facilitate it, and now they're trying to catch up with the autistic people, but we're just finding it very difficult. We're finding it difficult to be heard, and we're finding it difficult to be seen as people with needs, because we're not even being, like, our autism is constantly stripped off us as advocates. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would you elaborate with that?
We are continually separated from autism. We are othered, and the whole, there's obviously the language and everything like that, and the whole background to that, the withs and the haves, the person first against the identity first, and
the withs and the haves.
The withs and the haves. You are with autism. You have autism.
Oh yeah, I like that. I like that. I've never heard that thing before. I like that. The whips and the hats.
I know, it flows, doesn't it?
Yes, semantics are very important.
Yeah, it is. And people will say, and I've seen non-autistic people, and I've even seen autistic people or people who identify as having autism say this, that it doesn't matter, it's not important. But it isn't important to that individual, but collectively and to our movement, because that's what this is. There is no mistaking that we are in the middle of we're at the beginning, really, of a civil rights movement. Even though it's been going for 30 odd years, we're still right at the very, very beginning of it. And it is so important and fundamental that we are not separated from who we are. And it comes back to identity again. Our identity, when people, when I say that I am autistic from my head to my foot, which I say all the time when people ask me, like, you know, do you have autism? No, because I'm autistic from my head to my foot. It's not a part of me. My neurology isn't just here. My neurology goes all the way down my neck, down my back, into my arms, into my fingers, down into my toes, it's in my eyes. It's your nervous system. Nervous system is your nervous. Your nervous system is your brain. What the brain is, the function of the brain is to be the control center. That's it. The messages go to the brain decides what to do with it. That is how autism works for us. So all of our senses are all fully interlinked with that. Different. Exactly, because we do things differently. We process information differently. The messages are sent differently throughout our body, and we move differently. And then the information that we process comes out of our mouths differently, or, you know, or out in behaviors differently. And that's why different is good. And they call it a social disorder mainly, and people still don't understand that. They go, so it's a social communication and emotional disorder, and like, yeah. And it's like, but I can talk. It's like, yeah. And I can communicate, yeah. And I can socialize, yeah. But you're still disordered, yeah. Well, I've got no clue what autism is. Right, and that's why no one understands, because the definition is shocking. So here's my definition. Here, let's do a definition go of it. Should we do a definition go? Okay, go on. You go first. I
go first. Okay. So my definition of autism is it's neurological difference of the brain. That means it impacts our nervous system, the way we sense, cognate, learn, communicate, and emote.
I can't improve on that.
That's it, isn't it?
That's it.
And
that's
no one's saying that.
No. They're not saying that at all.
Social. Instead of going, we don't know. Because what I did, Kieran, is when I was 14, I became obsessed with autism. I don't know why, but in my heart, I do. It's because I was drawn to it. It's because I saw a man doing movements which I relate to, but have squished down because I've been told to sit on my hands. And I got out the books and I read autism spectrum disorder and the spectrum thing. And because it said the social and emotional communication, I just didn't think it belonged to me. And I don't feel like charities have done enough to educate autistic people. They've done a lot of educating the public and just letting... This is how they educate, though. They're very fussy with light. Sometimes they don't like unexpected changes. Sometimes they're very jumpy and they'll have blank faces. Sometimes they're just like, and it's because of the autism. And it's...
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but that's just it. And I hear it in that voice as well.
Right? Look at what people are saying here, right? They're saying about, this is what they're saying about charities. Do you want to look at some of these? Can you see the comments as well, my lord?
I can only see them as they flash up. I can't see all of them.
That's okay. No, we've got people saying that the National Autistic Society, someone said that basically autism charities need to have a majority of neurodiverse autistic people on their board. Their executive board. I absolutely agree. It's like Stonewall, the gay charity, being run by straight people.
Yeah.
It just no one. And another reason we get a bit funny about Autism Speaks or National Autistic Society looking at the pride movements is because, again, it's like straight people organising a gay pride. You don't appropriate in that way. You include.
Yeah, you absolutely do. Or the other way that you do it is if you are going to have a charity like that, you step back and you platform.
Yeah.
That's, you know, if you're going to have because do you know what? I am firmly of the belief that if you have a group of parents who have autistic children who are struggling and they want to set up a charity or a group or whatever, then they are perfectly entitled to do that. And that's absolutely fine.
Because we need allies.
Because we need allies. But they need to understand that they advocate for their children up to a point, and that there are people who don't know their children personally better, but understand their children's autistic neurology better. And that's it. Step back platform.
I think one point I would like to say just on that, and this isn't about autism charities per se. Let's talk about Autism Awareness Month. So Autism Awareness Month and why it's a bit triggering, stuff like that. Now, one of the things I've been really proud about with Agony Auti and I'm very surprised about, when I started Agony Auti, I started it for autistic people. It was primarily for autistic people. And I always said, look, if you're not autistic and you're here, if you're a parent, that's fab. but I am talking to the autistics here because they've not been spoken to as much, and we need to connect. And along the way, we've gathered teachers, very much like yourself, I think, Kieran, teachers, SEN teachers, carers, social workers. We've even had a few behavioural therapists coming along, checking us out and leaving the therapy
very quickly.
And then going, I've left it and I've changed, you know. So we've got people who are on the fence and inquisitive, yeah. And I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank them, because it isn't easy to hear that sometimes the things that you're doing, no matter how much they're in the best intent, it's not easy to hear that they're wrong. No, it's not easy to hear to step back, but we do need them by our sides, don't
absolutely.
we?
Yeah, absolutely. We can't. We at the end of the day, we are a marginalised minority group, and we need allies. We need support from people who are not us. And the best people that I can imagine are going to be standing alongside us and want the same things as us and want the same interests because they love their children, our parents. And I don't understand any parent that wouldn't want the same goals as what we want, because at the end of the day, we are here talking not just about people who can verbalize, we're here talking about people who can not verbalize, people who are epileptic, people who are LD, or
people
anyone
who need care for the rest of their
need
life.
Care, high needs care. This isn't us excluding anybody or pushing anybody away because we can speak, so we should speak for everybody. It's not like that at all. What we are saying is that we want better lives for all of us, and that's what's important, and that we see a path to getting better lives for all of us. But the people that are standing in the way at the moment are the people making money out of us.
And they do that by preying on the fear of parents.
Yes, and they prey on the fear of parents by pathologizing us.
So they try to sell you a cure, my loves. That's basically it. And they try to say, we can get rid of this behaviour, we can get rid of this, we can get rid of the autism. Some go really extreme. So some will package extremely. We won't go on into it too much today because I'm inviting Emma. Emma Domain's going to come on with us in a few weeks. And she's going to talk about the curing and the mistreatment narratives and the threats that are facing our community, which what have the charities done?
Nothing.
This is for Autism Awareness Month, considering these are the things that fear you as parents. Because I'm a parent of an autistic kid. You are too, aren't you, Kieran?
Yes, I've got two.
What fears you the most about having a child who's autistic?
Them being bullied, singled out, identified as different in a negative way, and going through the same experiences that I went through growing up.
Absolutely. My fears, please share as well in the comments. If you're a parent watching this, this is for the parents now. Parents who have autistic kids, please share what your fears are. And I'll come to the point in a minute. My fears for my son, and it's why I started Agony Auti, if I'm totally honest, was his mental health, because I've trigger warnings, as Kieran knows and Kieran will relate to. I've been suicidal a few times in my life where I've acted on it. And I've had to recover. It took me 2 years to recover from thinking in that way. And I worried that my son would face that and what I would do. How could I protect him? How could I protect him from feeling so different he didn't belong in this world? And I feared him being lonely. I feared him having no friends, unemployed, broke, and with that as an option. So I began Agony Auti and joined the autistic movement because I realised the autism charities and for Autism Awareness Month, they weren't really looking at any of those things.
No.
And I think that's really concerning, considering they do have all the money and the power and the connections with Parliament and government. They have the capacity to make change, but instead the National Autistic Society think it's apt. Is that right? Apt, sorry, not apt, that's not a word. Apt to release a campaign to celebrate an autism hour, where for 1 hour a year in October, the shops will lower the lights and do something like that, and that's it.
Woo,
These are tokenistic
No,
gestures.
that's amazing. That's amazing, Sarah. You can do all your year's shopping in an hour. Of course you can do that. Come on, get your trolley, run around the shops.
What's the example that you said to me? You said to me a while ago about the wheelchair ramps.
Oh, I can't remember. What did I say?
I'm sure it was you. You said it's like as if they put wheelchair ramps out and then wheeled them away.
Oh, yeah.
For 1 hour.
Yeah, for just 1 hour, yeah, they put a wheelchair ramp up. And then
You'd think it was preposterous if you saw it in that context. That's how autistic people see this.
Yeah.
And a lot of money was pumped into that campaign. I would have liked to have seen an anti-bullying campaign. Something to do with actually raising awareness of neurodiversity and cognitive diversity within mainstream school places as well.
Absolutely.
You know, they have the facilities to do this. This would help your kids' lives to be better. And they know this because this is the thing. The National Autistic Society, they don't have a dialogue with me. They won't have anything to do with me. And it's because I've been vocal about how they don't do enough. And I think that's so sad. I think it's sad that the community are rallying around Agony Auti and the people who are coming onto this platform. They're rallying around it. But the National Autistic Society, because I've hurt their image and their brand, they don't want to hear what's saying, but they don't realize it's not me. I am not the person who's saying all this. I am a voice piece for many, the way that you are. And when they shut off a voice piece of the many, it just shows me they just do not want to know. But they are slowly making some changes, Kieran. What do you say you've noticed this Autism Awareness Month?
There's been a magic word popped up in their vocabulary.
Who's noticed it? Can anyone in the comments guess?
Who is it? What does that say? I'll tell you what. Let everybody have a couple of comments, and then I'll just talk about something else while they're all see if anyone can guess it. But
you've got to guess when Kieran. You've got to guess what's the new buzzword that the National Autistic Society are now using in Autism Awareness Month, and they've never used it for Autism Awareness Month. Just let us know in the comments what it is. Go on.
Never used it before this week. That's the important things to say. But just with NAS, they're such a complicated beast because they have so many people working on a ground level who do brilliant things and work wonderfully, and they organize some there are some amazing local parent groups and things that are run under the NAS banner. Sorry, I've got emails popping in every 5 seconds. They're under the NAS banner, but they're not funded by NAS. NAS have pulled all their funding for local groups. So now you've got people working under the NAS banner with the NAS colours, and they're running NAS groups, but they're actually not NAS.
No money.
These people are working independently. They're just chucks and banners, But because the NAS name draws attention like a moth to a flame kind of thing, so people come to it because it's NAS, but it isn't NAS at all. It's independent people doing their best. And
I've heard that if schools want to be autism friendly accredited, they have to pay the National Autistic Society about $3,000 for that to happen.
I'm not sure if schools do, but businesses certainly do.
I was told by a school, by an SEN.
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me at all. I know.
With SENs having to pay $3,000
I know. A school, can you seriously?
Charity should be doing it for free.
Schools can't even afford to pay for paper. It's just vile. But but everything about this, all that they do is constantly trying to bring money back through their pockets. That's it. It's just they are not wanting to change anything, like you said.
They're a business.
They're a business,
and we are their product.
Exactly. And if they pump money into research that supports epilepsy or mental health issues or whatever it is,
where's the research into our health?
But the problems,
hurt us.
If they fix those things, the problems go away and they don't get any money. That's the issue. They need they need negativity in order to. They're a self-fulfilling prophecy. They need negativity in order to keep existing. Their existence relies on us being broken. That's the problem.
Yeah. And this is the thing, the National Autistic Society reps locally who are independent, that thing that Kieran was saying, they're not even getting support.
No, not now. They've pulled funding from them. So now they're running it on their own. I live in the northeast.
They need to come to the autistic community. We've got nothing too. So work alongside us.
I live in the northeast of England.
Working with nothing.
I live in the northeast of England, and NAS come and door knock up here asking for donations. NAS run bare minimum. There's one NASA representative in the whole of the northeast. So they're asking donations from people in the Northeast and don't even provide any services in the Northeast?
That's it. Okay, so brilliant point. So Kieran made a brilliant point there, and it's what I was trying to skirt around earlier. My main issue of National Autistic Society, because I used to be a massive champion for them. I used to fundraise in the streets for them, Kieran. Yeah. And I felt, like I said, devastated and betrayed when I looked at really where the money was going, who they were filling their convention halls with, just how unfriendly their autistic rhetoric is. But they don't build the infrastructure. No. And it's all very London-based as well. And they put a lot of the money into the campaigns. And I understand you've got to put money into advertising campaigns, etc. But these campaigns, they're like chocolate fire guards. They don't bloody help anyone. They're useless. They're actually useless.
They are.
Oh, by the way, no one guessed the word.
Oh, yeah, right. So the magic word is neurodiversity.
So the National Autistic Society, for Autism Awareness Month, have been using autism and neurodiversity absolutely everywhere. And it's what we have been wanting and saying, and that's fantastic. But we just feel very appropriated as a community. Yeah. And do you want to talk a bit about cultural appropriation before we turn into the charities and organisations that people should be looking at? Because we're not all doom and gloom here. We're going to tell you the ones that are doing good.
We're going to go down and then we're going to just pull you right back up again, aren't we? That's
yeah, because there's some autism parents doing some amazing work as well, and in coalition with autistic people.
Absolutely.
That is exciting. That excites me.
So, cultural appropriation. Basically, cultural appropriation is where you have a culture who does things, wears certain clothes, does things in a certain way, anything like that, and someone else comes along and then nicks it and turns it into this big popular thing that they make money out of, and woo, everyone does that now. So, neurodiversity. Neurodiversity was born quite a while ago, about 20 odd years ago now, and basically it's the concept of, if you think of biodiversity, think of trees, okay? Trees everywhere, okay? Trees are trees, but within trees, you have different types of tree. So all trees are trees, but you have different types of tree and they have fundamental differences. So if you look at humanity, humanity is diverse, neurodiverse. We know everybody comes under the banner of neurodiversity, but within that, there are pockets of humans that are alike to each other, but different to others. So that's neurodivergence within neurodiversity. So that's it in a kind of a nutshell. That's probably really confused people even more, but yeah, that's the nutshell of it. So autism is within the dome of neurodiversity. Yeah. There is a neurodivergence called autism. Okay, so that's there's a neurodivergence called ADHD. There is a neurodivergence called bipolar. There is a neurodivergence called dyslexia, dyspraxia. They're all different things. Sometimes they cross over as well, because the trees can cross-pollinate and all of these kind of things. And so, yeah, so that's neurodiversity. So
and also because autistic behaviour has been heavily pathologized. That's why I've got lots of different diagnoses, because this has got a name, this has got a name. All of my coping mechanisms have all got a disordered name.
Because Sarah can't be Sarah. Sarah has to be picked apart because different bits of her are wrong and broken, and they need to be labelled, and they need to be cut into little pieces and identified, and then you clop it all back together again. So so neurodiversity's been around the concept's been around for a long time, and it's become as a paradigm, because we live currently under the medical paradigm, what Sarah's just described there. But the neurodiversity paradigm is something that's been growing in popularity and understanding, and people are starting to go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so all of a sudden, people are kind of picking up on this now, though. They're like, ooh, this is a good word. This is a nice little buzzword. So businesses are starting to pick up on it, and different organizations are starting to pick up on it, and charities are starting to pick up on it. And it seems as if the National Autistic Society is the very last organization in the country to actually go, oh, that's a nice word, and we'll start using that. But they're using it wrong as well. That's the worst thing.
They've started using it. Just honestly, remember this date. The National Autistic Society started using neurodiversity and autism in their autism awareness campaigning in 2019. Kieran's just chuckling away. Maybe I think honestly, like a dust ball, I think just rolled across them, because people are just like, what? But no, but I think the awareness month and the appropriation is just difficult, and that's why we moved away to Autistic Pride, which is in June.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Autistic Pride movements are basically about doing everything that the charities have never done for us.
Yes.
There's no other way to say it. Mm-hmm. Everything the charities, everything that the National Autistic Society has never done for us, you will find at Pride. So you won't find awareness. I'm not telling you what autism is, because people who are at the Pride, they already know. And at the Pride that I ran last year in Chester, we had autistics from all different backgrounds and areas. And I was really, really happy about that. I was worried because we have a very us and them rhetoric, and the verbal autistics, the autistics who can dress themselves and who don't need 24/7 care, we are being attacked for even saying that we're autistic.
Mm-hmm.
And at that Pride, it didn't matter. We had people with learning disabilities and their carers, and we were all just together, and we were all like stimming and communicating non-verbally, mm-hmm. and just, it was bloody amazing. And the charities, for me, I don't think they've even ever had the faith in us that we would ever even connect like that, because, hey, remember, we're socially disordered. We're in our own world, aren't we?
They don't want us to do it in public. That's embarrassing.
But it was so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And Autism Awareness Month, it is, for many autistic people, all about money making. And we constantly are just trying to make it about autistic visibility, autistic voices, and autistic truth. That's what we want Autism Awareness Month to be. It's never going to change. The awareness is never going to change. And do you know what? I've seen people going, we don't need awareness, it's acceptance. I do understand that. I totally understand that. But some people, Kieran, they still don't know what it is. But the problem with Autism Awareness Month is that they're telling them the wrong things still. And they're still not going to know who we are or what we are.
No. I mean, I come from the point of view of, we've kind of, as a society, we kind of have now, I think, moved away from the need for awareness. There is no need for awareness. Because, you say the word autism, whether somebody knows what it means or not, they've heard of the word. So they're aware. That's where it stops. It's passive. That's awareness. Acceptance, as I say, is awareness is passive. Awareness is knowing about something. Acceptance is giving a shit about it and doing something about it.
Yeah, totally.
So, and by giving a shit about it, what I mean is if someone is acting differently, don't go and phone the police. Don't assume they're on drugs. If someone's acting differently to you and they're behaving in a way which you may not find appropriate, who cares? Don't go on with it. As long as they're not hurting anybody or themselves, what does it matter? They're different. They act in a different way. If we communicate in a different way. If I say to you, Sarah, we talk all the time on Messenger, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You do video, you do recordings, I type, and I break it down into little blocks because you struggle. And you do short recordings because I struggle. Mm-hmm. And then if I say to you, Sarah, I can't deal with the voice recordings anymore, can you just type a little bit? You type. So we meet each other's needs like that.
Yeah, we constantly
if I went into a workplace, generally if I went into a workplace and I said, excuse me, boss, don't talk to me anymore, just send me an email. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to get told off for it. And it's that there is acceptance. We accept each other. We meet each other's needs.
Mm-hmm.
But other people aren't like that, and that's acceptance. That's what needs to happen.
I think, like, one of the things as well with autism charities and Autism Awareness Month is the reason we've not really passed awareness into acceptance is because I think their consultation is weak and pathetic. I don't think that I'm sorry, getting 30 autistic people in a room and saying, oh, we've done our consultation, doing a survey 5 days or a week before you need to submit the evidence, it's unacceptable. And we are here, autistics are here, we are accessible. I just see charities that don't want to talk with us, they don't want to engage with us, and that's what I mean by the fact that it's difficult to get our propositions or our ideas or genuine hopes for this autistic community heard and acted upon, because instead they're just doing it about us, for us, in our name, and that needs to change. So That's why I'm going to show this now. The Autistic Takeover. So yeah, Autistic Takeover is basically autistics are trying to create a civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And we have been. We've been using the technology that we created to do it. We've been finding each other online. But that now is starting to change also. We're starting to now take real spaces.
Yeah.
And move from the offline space. Now, we are receiving some backlash, though. And we're receiving backlash from, again, it just devastates me. As we gain more visibility, Kieran, as we gain more traction, it should be celebrated, it should be supported, because we promise that we want to share our platforms. Yeah, because we're working with nothing here. We need all the help we can get.
Absolutely.
But we've realized that the actually autistic community, so hashtag actually autistic community. So I'm getting overload from these that they're hurting my ears. They actually physically hurt after a while. The actually autistic community is getting backlash from professionals and organizations and charities who, quite frankly, should know better. And the reason I say that is the actual autistic community, hey, you're not innocent, okay? I have to step the hell out, because sometimes you're having the same arguments that you've been going on about for the same 4 or 5 years, okay? About severe and mild, rhetoric and with and have. Like, I'm now past that. I'm now looking about how do we make sure the police don't taser us on site. That's my main prerogative. And you've got to fill us in on the work you've been doing with that constabulary. We'll come back to that in a moment, Kieran, okay? This is the autistic takeover, yeah? So I'm talking about you going to charities, going to the police and going, hey, don't listen to this advice. Listen to this, because that is why they're acting agitated. And here's how you can really disarm the whole situation. Yeah? So
absolutely.
The actual autistic community are getting some backlash. What would you say the actually autistic community are facing from professionals and charities and from pioneers of even the neurodiverse movement? What are we facing when we become more visible? What we need.
We are threatening them. We are threatening the order
of
things.
Sorry, Emma's there. Sorry, Emma's. Hi, Emma. We'll check when we're done. Yes, absolutely. Emma, I've said you're going to be on the 18th with us. Are you available on the 18th, Kieran? I've not even asked you. I'm so sorry.
Yes, you did ask me.
Did I? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I just
no, it's okay.
I'm sorry.
So we, at the minute, the more visible we become, the more vocal we become, the more now that we are stepping back offline again and there's stuff happening offline again, we are a threat to their natural order of things. We are a threat to the status quo. We're kind of a like a loose element, kind of. They're there huddling there nicely, and then all of a sudden, then we come in ricocheting around the room, kind of thing, and disrupting everything. And that's the issue for them, is that we are uncontrollable. And they are very used to having their. I'll put it this way, right?
The rhetoric. They use the pathologized rhetoric.
They do.
Against us whilst advocating, and it triggers the shit out of me. I can't be near them. So I'm like, you're hurting us more.
I know. That's the worst thing. To give an example, I hope nobody from Durham County Council is watching right now. I'm delivering a talk at a conference being put on by Durham County Council tomorrow. And they asked me
their autism constabulary.
Well, yeah, but ironically, they don't have a clue who I am. This is Durham County Council, where I live, where I work every day, where I go out and I talk and I.
Oh, Chester don't know me either.
I know. It's really funny. So tomorrow they have asked me as a person with autism to come and stand up and talk about my personal experiences. So tomorrow they're not getting that. And they're getting something which they're not expecting, and they're getting criticism. They're getting constructive criticism. But, you've heard me talk.
They can go and work on.
You've heard me talk. I don't hold back, but I do it in a very nice way. So it's that there though, them asking me to come and talk about my personal experiences and my life story and my journey, is very much how they control us, because they individualize us. So if I step up tomorrow and I talk about my life experience, that then becomes about me. That's not autism. That's Kieran.
Yeah.
So that's why, you know, what you do and what I do, like when I did Take the Mask Off last year, like literally my Facebook page was not me, it was everybody else. You know, and our stories are individual, but when you put them together, the weight of them is so important and so overwhelmingly strong that that's what needs to come across, and that's what they're scared about now, because that is what is happening.
And people don't want to hear about how much we've suffered and how much we've been bullied and how long we've been isolated and how long we've been asking for help. And this is the thing. It's triggering for me to when we say, please don't talk about us in this way, we find it this blah blah blah, and then we're told that we are threatening, we are attacking, we are aggressive,
Absolutely.
they are using the things which have quite frankly got some of us locked away, institutionalized, imprisoned. It's not okay. And what we are doing is advocating for our community. And I've tried to work with some neurodiversity organizations, and I've said to them, if you are seeing me as a threat when I'm just advocating for the community, then how on earth does the average autistic person on the street have a chance with getting across their needs to you? Because you'll just instantly shut them down. It is not aggressive to say, do not blame us. Do not scapegoat us. We will not tolerate it. That's not aggressive. And I've had organizations who have been slagging off the actual autistic community and then wanting to work with me. And I said to them, you really need to look at the rhetoric that you are saying. It is not okay to blame an emerging civil rights movement, and one that has been heavily victimized and one that is still very vulnerable to this day, for you to blame them and label them and other them, continue to other them, although that they're the aggressive autistics that, you know, we're not talking about those, we're talking about the peaceful one. What on earth is happening? It's an absolute battle. And I said to them, I represent the actual autistic community. Kieran Rose represents the actual autistic community, and we are actually autistic. So for pioneers of a neurodiversity movement, or the word neurodiversity, to say and blame, quote, the neurodiversity movement is gaining traction. However, the actual autistics are creating a backlash. She laid the blame of any backlash that neurodiversity may get, any taint to neurodiversity, she laid it at our feet. And I think that is disgusting. I think it is terrible, considering we dedicate our lives and we volunteer just to speak about what it's like to be sensory overloaded, to be lonely, to be autistic, to have to grow up running away from your parents. Yeah. Like we're putting our lives on the lines. And if that is causing a backlash, then those people were never supposed to be a part of the neurodiversity movement, and they don't accept us for us. And it troubles me. And one more thing, the charities that blame autistics, who should know better, because we're going to move on now. We're going to move to the charities who do know better. National Autistic Society, you should know better. You should know better to see advocates as aggressive or threatening or too volatile to work with. You should know better, pioneer of the neurodiversity movement and champions of neurodiversity who are making money in our name. You should know better than to talk about us and train about us and blame us, when really what you are seeing is trauma, desperation, poverty, isolation, and finally, we are fighting for our rights. So yeah, if that seems like an attack, it's probably an attack on your territory and your ego. But I'm not here for your job, though that may look like it to many. Completely. We are here to change lives, and it is taking time, and it's just talking. We're just having conversations. That's all it is. at this stage, right? We're just
completely.
Well, not for you. You're making traction, man. You are. I'm so proud. I am so proud. Like, tell them what you're doing with the police. Tell them about what you do. This is what Kieran does. Come on.
Well, what do I do? I don't know.
Tell them about the police work that you're doing.
I start with the police. About 6 months ago now, I think.
1 second. Someone needs to be blocked. Apparently, people are getting upset. You carry on talking, and I'll find the harasser. I found him.
Yeah. I think there might be a couple there, Sarah, that might need to go.
Okay, my love's in the comments. Don't let them ruin this for you. They're like little flies in ointment. Okay, honestly, it's pathetic. Just try to ignore them as much as you can and pay attention to me and Kieran. And this is the thing: they make our jobs easier because, in fact, they show what autistic people get
up against all the time
just by speaking. Yeah. All we're doing is speaking.
Shut them down. Shut us down. That's all they want to do. So about 6 months ago, I became aware that Durham Constabulary, Durham Police Force, they'd set up an autism part of their organisation. Basically, it was 2 parents, and they had decided that they didn't like the way that things were happening with the police and how autistic people were being dealt with, and they were worried about what was going to happen to their own children. So they were bombing around. They set up their own little thing. They were doing quite well, and then I think they got recommended that people come and talk to me. So I had a little meeting with them, and it was only supposed to be for half an hour, and it ended up being about 3.5 hours. And then after that, they asked me if I would come and consult for them. So now very, very, very lucky and very privileged that I'm being paid to consult for Durham Constabulary. So they are absolutely incredible. They are open to... I
had the privilege of meeting them at the Rough Justice Conference.
Yes, you did. You met Lisa Hall.
Yeah.
Lisa says hi, by the way.
Oh, I'd love to hang out and see you as soon as possible. But
you have to come over and meet them. They really are brilliant, and they're, like I said,
exciting.
They are, and
they know the problems within the police because they are the police.
Yes, they do. That's the thing, and it's kind of, we are doing making so many amazing changes. There's there's little things happening on the surface which people are seeing. They've changed their logo. They're using the infinity loop and things, and they're producing pamphlets and things which I'm helping them write. But there's a lot happening underneath the surface, some of which I can't talk about yet. Yeah. But some of which is, like we're now training in-house kind of thing. I've written their training, and I've had input from other people, and we're delivering it, and it's just going brilliantly. And it's not just about the police that are on the beat and the police that are the front-facing police. It's everybody that works within the police force, because they're autistic police officers as well. There's some amazing autistic police officers. There is a gentleman called Chris Young. You might have met him at the conference as well. I'm not sure, but he's an autistic police officer, and he is the biggest man, most terrifying-looking man you have ever seen, and he is the kindest, most open-hearted, brilliant autistic person as well. And it's so it's given me a context to the police that I never had. And that I'm an anarchist at heart, and I have since working with the police, I've been accused of all sorts of things, being a class traitor, but the way that I see it is that I would rather just me be a class traitor, and I'm so
confused. What? Why?
Because the police are they're the enemy of the working class. If you look at it from
I'm sorry. No, we've got too much work to do. A 7-year-old autistic kid got tasered outside of his own house because he didn't respond. We've got too much work to do.
Is that in the UK?
Yeah, that was in the UK. That was on this side of the year as well. And there was one in America who was putting out his bins, and he was tasered. Mm-hmm. And if you're not white, and if you're autistic, if you have that intersectionality,
you're under threat.
And that's why we need this consultation from BAME communities too. But the National Autistic Society, where is it? I've seen a lot of autistic, academics and things popping up from universities, which are quite interesting. So we're going to talk about autistic-led options. So we've talked about what the charities aren't doing. Yeah. Let's talk about where you can go, because the autistic community is emerging. We have been for a long time. You'll find us not only in analogies and metaphors, but you can find us within movements. And I've been really interested in these few lecturers. I'm really interested in Dr. Damien Milton. He wrote about cross-cognitive theory, which made me really understand that because of different brain types, we really do misinterpret each other.
Yeah.
So autistics or non-autistics and autistics will misinterpret each other because we fundamentally do learn and cope quite differently. It's sometimes like different ways of being sometimes. And Dr. Luke Bearden from Sheffield Hallam, and they do some really exciting work. But Kent University is doing something at Canterbury, which always confuses me. The Autism Festival they're doing this year, which is all about arts and creativity, and it's all autistic led, and it's in this month. This is what I'm talking about. So that's at Kent University. I'll share the link later. But it's amazing. I'll share the link on Agony Audio if people want to see. But I'm going there. We're going to be there for a few days. We're just going to be there filming, basically, and we're going to be sharing as much as we can. But let me just see. Oh, there we are. There it is in Warwickshire. Thank you so much, David, my love.
Yeah, I've just
there
seen
it is.
that.
Yeah, just put the link. It was in Warwickshire. But then again, you know, also that Warwickshire University, they're the ones who are doing genetic studying into how to prevent autism. That's another topic. I'm sorry, my loves. I'm so sorry.
There's too much to talk about.
I'm trying to streamline it. I've completely forgotten.
We're on autistic led organizations. Yeah.
That's it. But what are some of the ones that you like? Because AIM is obviously one. Do you want to talk about AIM?
Yeah, Autistic Inclusive Meets down in London, run by the wonderful Emma Dalmain, who we mentioned earlier, amongst others. They do. They're basically they run groups for autistic children and support groups for parents and meetups for autistic adults, and they're just generally just amazing, absolutely amazing. So there's Emma there doing that.
Are they a charity or an organisation?
They are a community group at the moment.
They're incredible.
Yeah,
the work that they do, it pains me that they're so small and they don't have the funding and the resources that they truly need. Because imagine if they had a charity status. Like, imagine if they had the resources and the staff that national.
Oh, the difference that they could make would be incredible.
There would be a community. If Emma could have it her way, there'd be community resources, places for your kids to go and meet other autistics, places for autistics to go and hang out with each other. There'd be an event every month in every city around the UK.
Absolutely.
That's Emma Dalmain. That's what she wants to do. It's what we want to do. But this is she keeps going to the National Autistic Society and saying, "What are you doing to help?"
Literally, to help anybody do anything.
Issue.
It's not even that. I mean, Emma's brilliant. Emma.
The rhetoric. Sorry.
Yes, Emma runs all these protests around the country, and she recently did one at National Autistic Society about Mendip House, which is just like a. We'll not even go there. We'll be there all night. So she runs all these different protests, and she runs this organisation, and she goes out and talks, and she does all of this amazing stuff. And she gets hammered probably more than anyone out of any of the advocates in the UK. But she's relentless and she keeps going. So there's Autistic Inclusive Meets. There's Autistic Pride Reading, which is a charity recently set up, I think within the last year, which is Rachel Cotton and Anne Memott and a few other people.
I like the Autistic Pride Alliance. Like I struggle with socialization. I really struggle because I don't like getting hurt, and so I struggle to even go there with trying to even make friends or trying to work with people. I really struggle with it, so I'm hiding my face. But I really like observing what they're doing, and I just love the fact that we have a Pride Alliance, and that means that for the autistic Pride events that are held in the UK, it's no one's, it's everyone's, and it means that we. A lot of autistic led charities, organizations. We are right at the beginning. So put it into context. we are as if we're where the gay liberation movement was in the 60s, where they were just gaining visibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we are.
I would say so. And the scary thing is that the kind of the autistic civil rights movement has been going probably for about 30 years, and we're still only at that point. So which just goes to show how far we've got to go.
Yeah.
And you know, and it pains me to say it, it hurts me to say it, but that any changes, anything that we set off is not going to help us. No, realistically. Mm-hmm. You know, it might help some people, but it's certainly not going to help the majority of us. And you know, possibly even our children, but our children's children. Any changes?
Kieran, I'm doing this for Frank.
I know, but you know, but there's there has to be an element of realism to this, in that we
straight to the skin now. The children.
I know. I've set you off now, but you know, it's.
You've not, my love. Never. No, you've not. I don't.
But we will make changes now that will help our children, but it will help our children's children more, and then their children more, you know. So eventually we'll get to a point where autism is completely accepted, and you know, different people do different things, and people have other things to worry about probably in hundreds of years in the future, hopefully. But you know, this is the thing. This is why we do it. This is a kind of legacy thing, and it's not a legacy for me. It's not a legacy for you. It's not a legacy for the people commenting. It's a legacy for all of us, and that's the thing that we are making. We want to make changes that will benefit everybody, and not even just autistic people, because the things that we desire, the things that we need, actually benefit everybody, not just autistic people. You know, it's kind of, everyone wants the lights turned down, everyone wants to be accepted, everybody wants to have their own identity, you know, and everybody needs that as well. Identity is so important to our mental health, but if we're not allowed to have our identities, then it breaks us.
So we're brand new. We're brand new. We're brand new in our startups. We're brand new in our organizations. Like with me, I'm a vlogger, and I'm self-employed. I've been self-employed now for 5 months. And it has been horrific because I'm not a businesswoman. I'm a blogger, and I still got my special interest. So I really need to get my act together in making agony or sustainable, because I'm at breaking point. And this is the thing. Advocates are emerging, and we need support. And I do find that within the autistic community, we're often fighting ego. And I've been gaslit a lot. I've been told, oh, people are very ego and very narcissistic, and I realize they're talking about me. And I don't know what it is that I've got to do in a way, Kieran, to prove that I'm desperately trying to give control of this narrative to the community. And I'm using my degree in media and culture to do that. And I'm just upset because I kind of came storming into it a year ago going, yeah, and then nothing transpired in terms of money, resources. And the best I've been able to do is shared live chats. So I feel like I've been a letdown, if I'm honest, to the community, because I've not been able to do what I've really wanted to do, which is share your story, share your narratives. But it's still what I am aiming to do. You know, when I get Agony Auti finally set up and running and funded somehow this year, one of the main things we're going to do is we want to make a documentary and go around the UK and really do, you know, can you imagine an Agony Auti produced our documentary or film about autistic people from all over the place to lend insight. But it's why I'm so excited to have you as my co-host, because you're going to be my co-host regularly now from spring until the end of summer. And
as long as you want me.
I'll see if you want to still be with me after that. Yeah. And it's not just going to be me and you. We want this.
We're going to have other people as well. Yes.
Be intersectional. So explain what you want this place to be as we take over.
What I would love is that I have found I'm very driven bringing people together. That's what drives me, like bringing people together and getting people to come up with the most amazing concepts and ideas. And I think that we have, as a civil rights movement, we have lots to learn from other rights movements as well. So especially amongst the disability community. So what I would love this platform to be is not only for a platform for other autistic people to come on and talk about the things that they need to talk about, but I want people from other marginalized groups to come on as well. And so that, because, you know, I talk to people,
better allies to each other.
Exactly. I talk to people in the trans community. I've got a very good friend who's in the dwarf community and other disabilities as well. And our stories, you know, they're not the same, but there are so many similarities.
Our marginalization,
and
our oppression, and the stigma
that's what we have in common.
Yeah, yes,
that's what we have in common. So, and some of those groups are ahead of us. Some of those groups are behind us. You know, we're not the worst. We're not the ones treated the worst in the whole world. There are, you know, we just happen to be the biggest marginalized group that are treated badly. But, you know, so it's kind of, we need other people like that on there, and then we need to be giving them a platform so that the people that are watching this now can see that there are other people out there that they can be connecting with, not just autistic people, but they can be getting them along, working with other people from other marginalized groups.
Awesome. Well, you know, I've asked for volunteers from the Pride Alliance to join us. I've not gone back to the post yet. I did see a few names being dropped, but I need to go back. I always get nervous because I don't, like I say, I don't socialize, and I struggle. I just struggle. I struggle with it all. But I'm excited because I'm very, Kieran knows how lonely I am, how I do isolate myself. Sometimes it is by choice because it's how I work. I got so much work, so I just got to get on with this work. But then people see it as cold, uncaring. And I think I got to remind even sometimes my own community, I'm autistic. I'm not going to be doing the friend thing. I'm going to do packets of information and running off because we're in a movement. We're in a civil rights movement. Are you not seeing it like this? Like, come on, we got too much work to do. And that's why we work so well together, because you respect my space and you don't take it personally.
No.
And I can't deal with that guilt. But I want to move forward. I want to work with people, and it's all I've ever wanted to do with Agnewy, but I just struggle. I dip my toe in and I run away, and it's why I kind of have Kieran here now, if I'm honest, to hold my hand through this, because like I've always said, I don't want to do this on my own.
You're not.
So
it's simple as that. You're not. I haven't given you a choice. But you know, we have so much. We obviously have so much in common because we're both autistic, and we have so much in common because of our life stories that have led us to this point as well. And we have things in common that have brought us to this point, and what we want to do and what we want to achieve, and that's important. And it's kind of, you know, people expect because you give someone attention that they're going to be your friend, and it isn't necessarily like that, because it's kind of, you know, if I were like that, I would have an awful lot of friends, because I talk to hundreds of people every day, you know, and I can't keep up with everybody, and I can't keep up with everyone's life stories, and, you know, but
I definitely want a community.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
We can teach each other new modes of socialization, because I've learned that as autistic people, we often socialize through exchanging information. And I'm really interested in the autistics, because I know that many autistic people will be watching what we're doing, and they think it's great, and that's the extent to it, and that's fine. But I want the autistic people who are thinking, I'm here for the movement. I'm here to be a part of the movement. I'm here to help towards it. I'm here to speak up and speak out and call out and to be allies and speak up against autistic hate when I see it, when I see it in the classroom, and share stories. Like, I had a teacher say to me today that I should be ashamed of myself because I said that a teacher moved a kid's head like that. And she said, as a teacher, I can tell you no teacher would ever do that.
Sorry, that was really loud. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
But I said, why are you offended? I'm telling teachers this so that they understand not to do it. Don't be so offended here. We're trying to work together. And I don't know, we're seen as the enemy. I don't understand how they can't see that we are autistic people too. We have been through our own suffering and stigmatization. Why the hell do they think we're here?
I know. This is the thing, and it's kind of, this brings us back, right? We've gone full circle now. So we come back now from what you've just said to the jigsaw piece. Okay, because this is really important, because the jigsaw piece is, you know, this month and this week, particularly in the UK, more than ever, this is where we see the jigsaw piece everywhere. And what you've just said there about they don't see the things that we have gone through. You know, people see me talking on a platform, they see you talking on a platform, they forget we're autistic because we're platforming. You know, we're there, we're talking, we're doing, and you know, they empathize with what we say and they relate to what we say, but they forget that we're actually like the person who's watching. So all these people in the comments, we're just like you, we're not any different, we're just here talking to each other. So the jigsaw piece makes us children. Autism in the eyes of society stops at the age of 16, pretty much. If you look at services, it definitely stops at the age of 16. You get, you know, what little there is disappears completely the moment you hit the kind of adulthood area. So the jigsaw piece is representative of autistic children because it was created by parents of autistic children. So they saw their children, you know, it's a childhood thing, it's a toy, it's all the dynamics around what jigsaw is, missing pieces, whatever. So that's why I don't like jigsaw pieces, why so much of the adult autistic community don't like jigsaw pieces, not just because of the connotations of Autism Speaks and the legacy of the National Autistic Society, it's because it infantilizes us and we are not children. And also it creates this kind of juxtaposition in a parent's head because they see their child as a child. And when their child gets to a certain age that they're not a child anymore, they still see their child as a child, you know. So whatever way you look at it from the outside at us, we are seen as children. And that is also an element of control. Because if we are a child, as an adult, if I am seen as a child or I'm seen through
is that why I'm always punishing myself every day? I feel like, I don't feel like I'm a grown up or feel like an adult.
Yeah,
even in my 20s, I was saying, when am I going to grow up? When am I stopped when I was 14.
That inner voice has been given to you. It's been handed to you because you are told, grow up, Sarah. Stop acting like that, Sarah. You do that's not the way to do things, Sarah. You're being parented all the time. And that's what services do. They parent and they mollycoddle.
And I mask a lot. Like you've seen me with when my mask is down, and so is my Agony Auti followers. But when I'm doing this, that's a mask.
Of course it is.
Autistics don't listen like that. Autistics listen like this. Yeah, and I'm looking away and listening, and it's bad though at first when you meet other auties because you feel like you have to explain yourself to each other still, don't you? I am listening, and we need to teach each other that we know.
That's that internal narrative. That's that internal narrative we've been given and we're carrying with us all the time.
Exactly. And you know, explaining.
And we all have different voices. We all have lots of different voices in our heads. Not to go down the whole, you know, there's no mental illness there in terms of that, but we do have different narratives in our head. Women are given a particular narrative that, you know, you must look a certain way, you must dress a certain way.
And people,
it's kind of all of these different things, but all of these different things feed different masks.
I fidget a lot. I think described as I can't keep still, and it annoys people. Yeah.
No, but I mean, look at me. I've been sat here rocking the whole time I talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm like shifting from side to side. And what you said before about not paying attention, I haven't looked at you once this whole thing. My camera's there. Hello. You know, but I'm looking down here all the time. And that doesn't mean I'm not listening and it doesn't mean I'm not engaged. But as an adult looking at a child, if a child isn't looking at you, they're not listening. If a child's fidgeting, they're not listening. And it's that. So that is where this whole jigsaw piece thing, it is representative of children, and we are not children. We grow up. Obviously there are autistic children, I have two myself, but they will grow up. So that jigsaw piece doesn't represent them. There hits a point where it's not a childhood issue anymore, it's an adult issue. And this adult issue is when we start getting voices and we start growing up and we can advocate for ourselves.
And it's like
but
the
parents still seen as a child.
Want them to have voices. It's like, I don't understand parents who are advocating for their kids who don't want to listen to advocates. That's why I'm so thankful and grateful to the amount of autism parents, autistic parents, and just parents in general and teachers who I have been inquisitive. I'm so grateful for them listening, because it's how do we get them to listen without them immediately shutting us down as if we were a kid? And that often happens a lot. But one thing I would really ask parents to reconsider if they ever think that this is a really good argument point. One thing that really I just can't stand it is when they say, "You're proud, are you? Right, well, try telling that to a 6-year-old kid who does banging on the head." Rah, 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 rah. It's like, what, like my son?
Yeah.
That I live with,
Mm-hmm.
who I educate, and what, like me? I mean, you are constantly, and it's constant. I'm bleeding. Sorry. You are constantly comparing autistic children to adults and saying, you can't be autistic because you're nothing like my kid.
Of course.
Why? It's like me going to a neurotypical person going, you're nothing like that. You can't be neurotypical because you're not like this 6-year-old. They don't see us as people, Kieran.
No.
They see us as autistic, and you can't be. It's a battle. We haven't got time for this.
No.
We're too busy trying to advocate for their children.
And that's their children. And we get bombarded by these waves and waves of kind of people saying you can't talk for this person and you can't talk for that person, you can't talk for the other person. All
advocates. Now, this isn't just me and Kieran. We're talking about
all advocates.
Advocates, anyone who's speaking in the visible realm of autism here.
Yeah, and it's kind of, we are constantly told that rhetoric is constantly there. And, no, I can't speak, Sarah, I cannot speak for Frank. Because Frank
I can't either.
You can't either, because Frank speaks for himself. What you can do is you can advocate for him to a degree, because, other people won't listen to Frank, so you have to talk for him to a degree, but you followed Frank's wishes. You don't do what you want for Frank. You do what Frank needs and what Frank wants. That's
trying to
the
respond
difference.
and adapt to him and advocate for his needs, which is basically trying to say to people, no, he's not just oppositional because of the autism. He's oppositional because he's anxious and he's trying to control the environment.
Yeah.
Do you like my hair?
Nice centre pardon.
That took me forever because it's a mirror image. I'm terribly dyspraxic as it is. I'm like,
at least you've got hair. Look, right? I'll deliver. Look, I'm going to turn now. Look at that.
Yeah.
I'm like Prince Bloody William.
I like that valley. Like the way that rivers begin. It looks like the way a river begins. Like if your head's the ocean and then it begins to go. That's how visual autistic people are.
Look, there you go.
There you go. That's it.
Here's the scene. My enormous forehead is the ocean. That's what you're saying.
Yes. Like San Francisco. It looks like San Francisco Bay, and you can go in. I looked at the San Francisco map before we went to a Big Eat, and you can go in that way. Yay! And your hair's the land. And look, do you like my curtains?
I used to have curtains.
Oh, I know you would have. You would have. What, would it have been in the 90s?
Yeah,
Late
very
90s?
early 90s.
Absolutely.
Early to mid.
You would have looked like Simba. Simba had curtains as well, in The Lion King. I think that's what popularised it. Simba. Go and Google Simba from Lion King when he grew up.
My wife just jumped on and said she still loves me, Mr. Baldy. Thanks, Michelle.
Hey, I fancy Captain Picard. Like, there's nothing wrong with having no hair.
Oh,
not wrong with that.
I'll beat it all off.
Anyway, your hair off.
Beat it.
Oh, beat it.
Yeah,
okay,
cool.
Right. Well,
that was the tangent, wasn't it?
Yeah. So before we go,
yeah.
I was going to say, have a quick look at the comments and everything, but is there, because my head's starting to go really fuzzy, what would you say are some more points that we should maybe round up on?
Can I just mention one charity that I haven't mentioned all night?
Yes.
This week, people in the UK particularly probably will have noticed that there has been a lot of gold floating around. So I also consult for another organisation, and that is the Northeast Autism Society, who have changed an awful lot in the kind of year and a half that I've been talking to them. They were kind of ready. They were at the point where they knew that they needed to do something, but they weren't quite sure of the direction. So I just happened to bumble along and have a chat with them, and kind of it tipped them in our direction, basically. So all of the gold that you have seen floating around, all of the messages that have been on the boards.
The light up gold instead of light up blue, yeah.
And then light up blue. So there were 10 buildings in the Northeast that were lit up gold. all the boards and the London Underground stations. You'd have seen those posts floated around, I'm sure.
That gave me hope.
That, all of that has come from the North East Autism Society, who have absolutely embraced even
I just started following them.
All of that has come from them and come from them listening to me.
Autism North East Society.
The North East Autism Society. So they have listened to me. They have listened to other autistic people. I have just. This is kind of breaking news. Nobody knows about this yet. That's okay. I've just won a funding bid through my organisation, Infinite Autism. A funding
bid?
Yes.
Bid?
A bid. Funding bid. Oh. Money. Your hearing's going.
I thought you said a funding bid.
No, a funding bid. So I've just won secured funding to work with the North East Autism Society to have basically a think tank of 5 autistic people, advocates, who are going to go in and look at the services that North East Autism Society put on. They are then going to back all of our campaigns and they're going to follow our lead, basically. So, amazing. I mean, obviously they're a charity and they do have their own agenda because they are a business and that always comes out, but they are following our lead and they want to be led by us. So just for them. And I know people have issues with them because, again, they're a charity. They're led by funding, so they can only put on services in certain places. They can only work with certain people. But they're changing the narrative and they're helping us change the narrative. Mm-hmm. So Kerry Highcott that commented earlier, she's been she commented earlier and she works for NIAS. And I work really closely with Kerry and she's one of the most brilliant people that I've ever met. So it's really nice that in the Northeast, I've got the Northeast Autism Society, I've got Durham Constabulary, there's pockets of lots of smaller charities, kicks, businesses and things that are starting to wake up to what we're talking about. So the Northeast, a golden beard, someone said, a Northeast is becoming a kind of a hotspot for positivity, for acceptance, for changing things and shredded wheat.
Yeah, never eat.
Newcastle.
Yeah. Awesome. That is amazing.
So I just wanted to bring that. So all of the positivity that's been going on, Kerry's still here. All of the positivity that's been going on this week has been driven by them. They've basically, I put the fuel in the car and they've driven off with it. So it's been brilliant.
This is what I mean when people are like, oh, you're really helping things. I'm doing nothing. I'm making videos.
That's but you are, Sarah.
No. You are literally in with the police. This is what I mean about visibility. And it is a privilege to share my platform and this space with you. And I hope that me and you can carry on doing these events, these live chats and invite other autistic talent and other autistic movements that are generating so people can see, because as the great Harvey Milk once said to the LGBT community, you got to give them hope. And people don't see it. They don't see it. So I'm just so excited that A, you're doing this and B, you're here to share it with us. But what would you say some of the main problems are, just summarizing? What do we as an autistic community, those within the advocacy circles, and what do we need to do? Because the reason I'm so far back from it, if I'm honest, and I kind of talk, I always observe it, I'm always watching it. And I look at my followers and I go to the autistic community to see what's going on there. So I'm not in an echo chamber, But I find it so difficult because I've got very little spoons, very little energy. But because I'm in this public realm, it's like I'm getting eaten apart a little bit. What would you say as a community we need to do in terms of, I feel we need to be kinder to each other. And I know it's difficult because I'm not asking about tone policing here. I'm talking about being kind in terms of thinking about what has the other person been through. Do they deserve to be shouted at because they said with autism, or do they deserve to be given the time and space to learn about the problems of it? There's different ways to do it, and the difficulty is that I do recognize this community is hurting. We are in pain. We're sick to death. We're sick to death of educating people and saying the same things again and again and again. But I am seeing us hurting each other. And I have been hurt sometimes in this community, in that sometimes I just feel like I'm doing more damage than good, in that I just feel like I piss people off. You know what I mean?
You can't. I mean, from that angle, you can't please everybody. That's you can't. And
I worry I'm doing more damage.
No, I don't think
my
so.
intent's to do good. So if I'm creating more damage towards the autistic, that's something that I'm like, these speeches need to be better. They need to be more concise, Sarah. That's what I do to myself.
But see, you do that. But then, like anybody who's watching this who's ever read anything that I've written, you need 3 days and probably a bottle of scotch to get through what I write. So it's like, my last thing was 12,000 words. That's not a blog, but it's on a blog.
Thank you so much for writing about autistic identity. Autistic identity and culture is one of my favorite things, because I think that with visibility will come your culture, and with culture comes rights, because when you get to express your personhood through culture, and thankfully autistic people, we have cultures everywhere. It's just we need to make them visible and reclaim them. Geek culture is ours, but we'll do a live chat all about culture. We'll invite 2 more autistic guests on one day.
Definitely.
I never let you answer the question. What would you say as autistic advocates and allies, what could we do better to mobilize? I thought we need to drop our ego at the door. And remember, we're doing this for a movement.
I think the most important thing that we can do is, I'm not sure it's so much about egos. I think it's what you said before. It's about stopping and breathing and thinking about the situation before we go like full in headstrong and like a bull in a china shop kind of thing. And it's very easy for that to happen. For an example, I watched a thread the other night where there was a parent, a kind of minor celebrity parent, who had posted something about his 2 autistic sons, saying basically that if they were very high needs autistics who had a lot of co-occurring conditions, and basically he said if there was a cure, I would take it, kind of thing for them. So I saw like 1,000 comments of autistic people going, attack, 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 attack. And I looked at it and I got really upset. And I got upset obviously for what he was saying, but I got upset for the way that people were just assaulting this man. And I thought, this isn't the right way to do it.
I've been guilty though of that.
Yeah, and I have as well.
I
have as well. And it's kind of, we were all guilty of doing those things. And sometimes we do slap, we get angry, because our whole lives we have been assaulted, abused, bullied. And, we are full of anxiety and pressures and awful kind of things that have happened to us. But the parent in that situation is unsupported, is isolated, is angry, is frustrated, is living. I mean, this was an American as well. So they're living in a society where it's, religious Trump, fundamental autism kind of thing. It's like the ABA, and there's context, and context is what is often missing.
Context is king.
Context is king. Context is completely king, and that's what's often missing. And that's from our point of view, from the autistic point of view. I understand how angry people are, because I am angry myself and I am frustrated myself, and all I want to do is just rail at the world and shout, but it doesn't get me anywhere. Nobody listens. We share this world with a lot of people who don't understand us. So in order to make them understand us, shouting at them is not going to do it.
I absolutely agree.
They have responsibility. That does not absolve them of responsibility, because the parents watching this, I would assume that most of the
I've seen autistics being poked and prodded, and so it's just this horrible battlefield. And it's like,
it is.
And then I can see that the people who really should be at the forefront of it, the autistic people we're arguing about, they're just lost.
But you know what? From both sides of the field, all of our anger, from our point of view, from non-autistic parents' point of view, it's all misguided, all that anger, because the one place it should be focused on, it isn't focused on, and that's up. That's the people that control and dictate our lives, and that's the services, the governments, the professionals in inverted commas, all these people that make decisions about us, that have been controlling our narrative for the past 60 odd, 70, 80 years, and they get away scot-free. Because we're too busy attacking each other. It's divide and conquer.
That's why, and this is the thing. I'm really excited about. These are shout out to some of the other autistic led organisations. I have to say, I mean, the reason I was inspired to do Pride is because of a chap called Joseph Redford, and he's like, he basically tries to support autism advocacy and civil rights movements where they pop up, and I hope to see much more of him. But he really inspired me with Pride. Awesome Cork are, I don't know if they're an organisation or a charity, but they're one I'm looking at. I would love to go next year to see what they're about. They're autistic led. They're very autistic inclusive. All their speakers are autistic, and they're very much about the autistic civil rights movement.
Absolutely.
And trying to discharge, not discharge, that's the wrong word. Ew, no, wrong word. Oh no.
Just rewind.
Look at visual images. No. Now I have visual images of discharge. No, I said it. I could have gotten away with it, but I just shut up. Anyway, oh no, dispel. They wanted to dispel. No, what's the thing where you have to, there's loads of static and there's loads of horrible energy and you discharge it? Yeah. Decharge. Decharge, not discharge. Sorry. Decharge the whole parent versus autistics rhetoric, and Awesome Cork have done a lot of work into that. Emma Dalmain does a brilliant group for parents who want to know more about autistic perspective. Look at Asperger's and Autiness. It's
and also Emma's other group, which is actually bigger now, is Autism Inclusivity. And so there's that. So both of those are Emma's groups, and both of them are brilliant. And they're all autistic led and autistic run. And there's a kind of, underneath the autistic cooperative, which we talked about earlier, there's actually quite a lot of kind of subgroups. There's a late diagnosis group and Autistics Worldwide, and there's a whole series of groups that are being led and run by autistic advocates that are there for support. And it's Joseph's watching.
Neurodivergent Labour, that's it. Neurodivergent Labour excite me as well with their steering group and some of the things they're trying to advocate for us.
And it's not just charities and those kind of organisations. There's businesses as well. There are autistic-led businesses in the UK. Sarah Chapman runs Operation Diversity, which supports parents who have children with SEND. So, run EHCPs and understand different neurodivergencies. And
the Worcester SEND Parents Group, they're doing a rally in May. I'm going to be.
Oh, the one in London.
I'm going to the Worcester one. I'm going to be with the little guys. London don't need me.
That's another Northeast thing as well, because Emma Parker, who works for the National Education Union, she's the parent of an autistic child and is actually 3 autistic children, and is very much undiagnosed autistic herself. She won't mind me saying that. But she's basically all of these rallies. That's Emma Parker has initiated all of this, and she runs a free SEND conference up here in the Northeast. So I go and talk at it, and other people go and talk at it, and we'll deliver for free. And it's for parents and teachers to come and mix and learn from each other, basically. So there's so much happening.
Operation Diversity Community.
Yeah, that's Sarah Chapman's. That's Operation Diversity, what I just mentioned. Yeah.
Awesome.
So there's Michelle Parsons, who's like.
I just wrote it. That's
right. Michelle Parsons, who's over in Sheffield, Chester. Sorry, she's round your ways, Cheshire. And she's running a training organisation now. Monique Crane does training, and Anne Memot and AT Autism. There's just so many of us doing so many good things. But this is what this.
Autiscape. I have to give that one to Kieran because I pissed off big time.
You did. Personally, I've never been to Autiscape. I know there were some issues last year, but for the people that go to Autiscape, I think they find it very beneficial because again, it's an autistic-led platform.
I get so nervous, Kieran. Like
I understand.
I desperately want to be in all these wonderful things, but I just feel very unwelcome.
Yeah,
very unwelcome.
I know. But,
so I don't know what to do about it other than just to keep saying we really need these spaces. I'm lonely, my son's lonely, my husband's lonely. We literally have no friends.
Can we completely
in this space, considering we're autistic too?
It's isolating, and it's kind of my wife and I went to a wedding the day before New Year's Eve last year. Obviously, just this news is just gone. That was the first time we've been out on our own together in 3 years. You know, and it's
though, doesn't it?
It does.
And it's like that one time, it's just not enough. In fact, sometimes it's worse. It's like it's a bit cruel. I mean, Liam would say it's like I'd rather not see anyone. It's like, what's the point of doing this once? But we now get out because of agony auting. You know, we get out because of where our work is taking us, and we're hopeful that we're going to make some genuine friends along the way, because Kieran, we've been so lost and so isolated, and all we've wanted is a neuro tribe. It's a community where you can be yourself and your son can be yourself, and it's collective knowledge, it's shared understanding, shared ways of coping. That's what you get from these spaces. And I would love to just try and get out there more and be part of them more. So I need to get my act together and try and raise some more money.
That's exactly why I always say any parents I meet, and my biggest piece of advice to them is let them mix with other autistic children, let their kids mix with other autistic children, and not in a prescribed, you know, they must do this or have this activity or whatever. Just let them go. Just let them free play, and they will be drawn to each other.
Yeah, with my son, he needs some assistance with it because of his speech apraxia, and we're in the middle trying to get him an ACC. With friends, he wants us to be there as a translator. So for some, it is, but it's these kids. The reason they feel so different and isolated is because they don't see people who are like them, and it's why when I spoke to you the other week for 4-5 hours by accident, I felt so revitalized after it. I crashed a week after, but I felt revitalized after that talk. I felt the happiest I had in a while, just because everyone just wants to be, like you said earlier, everyone wants to be seen, understood. And I don't think it's any different for the autistics who have been looking for a community for ages. I just don't know, how do we make it happen? I'm impatient. It is happening.
Yeah, it is happening, and that's the thing. That's what you got to remember in it. You are impatient, and I'm impatient as well. And we just want to snap our fingers and just get everything fixed right away. But it's not going to happen like that. And it's just, you know, it is happening. And the responsibility of people who are not autistic is to give us equity so that we can find these spaces and lead them ourselves, and not be prescribed by, and not have spaces that are run by the NHS or run by councils or exactly. It needs to be our own spaces where we can do our own things, and it is happening, and we just need more of it.
Yeah. What other are there any of Autistic UK led things that you think that we need to shout out to or comment on, or just round up?
Matthew's Hub in Hull, very good friend of mine. Carl Cameron, a very good friend of mine, does everything for them, and they are really good. And sorry,
Scottish Autism, I thought were a bit iffy because I thought Dr. Ian McClure was with them, and he said some terrible things about us recently.
Yes, he did. I'm not sure he's with them anymore. I don't know. I can't comment on that. But you know, actually,
some great things too.
I think Scotland, out of all of the UK, it seems to be that Scotland is probably the most progressive place. Obviously a lot of negativity happens there because there's a lot of ATUs in Scotland. That brings us back to the National Autistic Society. But it's kind of, there are pockets around the country, and it's one of my biggest dreams is to get a whole full network of autistic-led organisations up and down the country. There's already a network for autism charities, but there needs to be a network for autistic-led, not just charities but businesses, or kicks, social enterprises, charities, just autistic-led stuff. There needs to be a network where we come together, and when every so often we go off and do our own independent thing.
Autistic streets. Streets filled with autistic-run businesses. You'll have a business about arts and like crafts and expression. You have one that's all about science and like, you know, collecting all that, and one that's all about tech, and one which is just literally a safe, quiet, dark space, and then another one literally just a sensory seeking world place. Ooh, and then you can have like welfare and workshops and a whole street.
Yeah.
Like I looked at it was in San Francisco. I went to a place called the Castro, where Harvey Milk basically took over the street when they were trying to be.
I've been there. I know it.
Oh, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And I just said to Liam, imagine if we could take just a street. You just start with one street. You start with one street, and you have a quiet. You know, it's not just one street. I'm asking for complete revolution here, but I just have faith that we will have these whole places. We're not only going to have a year, 1 hour in a shop, an autism pride that we have to wait for all year. We're going to work towards to make sure that these prides extend. And this is everyone. This is not just me and Kieran. We're talking about everyone here. When I say we, it's a collective we, isn't it, Kieran? We mean autistics. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but they are basically what give me strength, the community. With all its problems, all its flaws, all its arguing, they give me strength every single day. And I look to what they're going through, and it makes me so angry. It makes me get over whatever pain I'm in or over problem I'm going through and just get on with it.
You know, so, I'm exactly the same. When hashtag Take the Mask Off was running back in the summer, obviously there was a lot of difficult conversations going on then, talking about masking, self-harm, suicide, burnout, all of the kind of negative aspects of things. But what kept me going through all of that, and what just filled my heart that whole time, was how everybody jumped on it. Everybody got on board. It was like the whole community just came together, you know, and they were just pumping out all of this. Exactly. That's the thing. And it was like they were just waiting for somebody just to say, go and do this. And everybody did it. And it was utterly incredible. And the feedback from it, you know, I'm still getting feedback from it now. And it's heartbreaking, but it's also validating that people now are still searching that hashtag, and they're still seeing what people wrote, you know, nearly a year ago now. And it's
used all year round, I've seen.
Yeah.
It's just now part of you will see Actually Autistic and Take the Mask Off now together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Anyway, we need to round it up, but
we do.
we're gonna rest after this. We'll get through Autism Awareness Month. We will be back on Thursday the 18th for Emerald Domain.
Yes.
And we're going to get thinking on autistic guests and advocates and who we can share our platform, right? So
Absolutely.
Email 40@gmail.com if you are an autistic creator or blogger or an advocate, if you're doing something within the movement that you think needs to be talked about. Or email, what's your email, my love?
My email's just, I've got my basic one still at the minute. It's just kieranrose@hotmail.com. Just email me there. It's going to be changing, but you can get me there.
Awesome. There's over 1,000 comments, so I will do my best to read through as many as I possibly can over the weekend.
As will I.
Thank you so much for incredible engagement on this. That means everything. It's never fun speaking to no one. But
can I, Sarah, just before we go, can I make a special request?
Absolutely.
That if anybody comes forward, please can people from the Black community come forward? Please, autistic people from the Black community, because your voices are not heard, and your voices need to be heard. And it's so important that your voices are heard, because there's a huge gaping hole in advocacy amongst the Black autistic community, and it needs to be filled. So there are, and I am aware of a couple of Black advocates, but I want to know where you all are, because you're there. You must be there.
Yeah, the visibility is most on the whites, and because we're literally emerging, it is the most privileged of the autistics who are getting the most visibility.
Yeah,
and like I've always said, despite my disability and despite X, Y, and Z, and even you've said it with me, we are privileged and we have to recognize that. So, but we want to share our platforms, which is the exciting part. And not only do we want to share our platforms, we want to make sure that people are going to your platforms too. So, yes, big shout out and also, like Kieran said, we cannot we can advocate for you if you want us to help, but we cannot speak about your experiences. There's just no way that we can do that. And we need, if we want the police to listen up, if we want local authorities to listen up, if we want MPs to listen up, we need you by our sides, and it's scary.
Yeah, it is.
Scary coming out as autistic.
We just need more heads above the parapet. That's what needs to happen. And we all need to be platforming each other.
Yes, we need to be supporting each other, sharing, and I don't mean by sharing each other's work and liking each other's work. That's not the type of support I mean. Support by actually believing in each other. Support by, do see a genuinely good piece that advocates for this community, that is going to move this community forward. That's what, share it, whatever. Sharing is caring, but not this like for like thing. It's about having each other's backs. And as a community, gotta have each other's backs, because nobody will. Well, we're getting allies, but we need to form. We are getting there. Like I said, like Autscape and the National Task Force is another one. But I don't know. I'm just so excited that it's happening. I hope our little chats and conversations can contribute towards making these organizations' lives easier by lending them much needed visibility and celebration, if I'm quite honest.
Absolutely.
Because they celebrated for what they're doing. Anyway, thank you, my love, and good night.
Thank you. Good night to you.
Everyone for watching, and we'll see you again soon, yeah?
Bye-bye, everyone.
You want to say again, or are we done? We're done, aren't we, yeah? My head's gone. My head's all fuzzy.
I think it's still live.
Hey, girl, let me just put it up. 1 second. I need to put your Facebook page up here dead quick before we go.
Someone's just asked. It's the Autistic Advocate. Just search there and you'll find it.
Yeah. The Autistic Advocate. I'll put the link in when I've gone, but I'm off to go and lie down now because I'm really ill.
I need to go to bed. I'm speaking twice tomorrow.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Tell us.
It's the Durham County Council conference thing. It's tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. It's being repeated in the afternoon, so because they can't fit enough people in.
Oh, I've taken way too much of your time.
No, it's fine. It's good. It's good.
Go follow Kieran, and honestly, sympathise with him because he's having to deal with me at the moment. Going, Kieran, stop there! I just like little voice notes, and then I disappear for a week. It's like, what? Okay.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. But anyway, we've got each other's backs, and I'm excited about this kind of collaboration. Because for me, my son, he doesn't watch the lives, but I would love it if we could do a professional video together. Like the ones I do.
Yeah.
Imagine you could sit here.
That would be great.
Autism, bam, and then you could say a bit, and I could say a bit, and then it can go into a rap. And then
You've not heard me sing.
Hey, the blue. How about? That means no. Like that doesn't matter.